Well, hello, sophomores. As you can tell, it's been a bad day. I feel a little bit discombobulated. Like my hat's upside down, my glasses are upside down. Things just haven't went well. It's been one of those mornings. But, even though you might feel the same way, we still have work to do. All right, this is our Unit 2, Lesson 1 notes. We're starting a brand new unit now. In Unit 1, we learned how the Americas were discovered. And in this unit, we're going to carry on and add to that, because in the last unit you found out that Giovanni Caboto, John Cabot, claimed land in the New World for the country of England. And now in this unit we go and talk about some of the English colonies, because England's going to start to colonize the Americas, which will later on become the 13 colonies, which become the United States of America. Now, if you followed your Schoology in order, the first thing you were supposed to do was to activate your brain, because you were going to put a colony on the moon. And I had a little activity there for you to do about items that you would need and which ones would be the most important to least important. And I was just trying to get you to think about, you were going to a brand new place that was totally alien to you, and how valuable were the items that were in that activity that you needed to pack. For Europeans going to the New World to live in a new colony, they might as well have been going to the moon. They were not prepared. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And it would be just like me, if I was to go to Mars, I wouldn't know what to do, and I wouldn't know how to make a colony last or anything. But hopefully that got your mind thinking about colonization. And now we're going to talk about Unit 2, the colonization of the New World by England. I told you in the last unit to take good notes, and at the end of the unit, I took up a copy of your notes. You were supposed to submit that to me. Remember, the notes are your textbook. So it's important that you take good notes. Pause this video at any time so that you can copy down these notes, and that way you have them the whole unit as we go through Unit 2. So, in your notebook, you should have Unit 2, the English colonies. Now, we activated with you about going to the moon in that little activity we did, and that should get your brain going. But also, I want you to think about this. Have you ever got a sweet deal on something? You know, I'm actually wearing a sweet deal. Hang on a second. I'll show you. See this? This Nike shirt right here I got. I love it. I found it at Dick's. It was on sale, marked down from $49 to $29, and then I had a coupon. That's right, a coupon. Or do you say coupon? I say coupon. You say tomato, I say tomato, potato, coupon, coupon. Anyway, I had a coupon that got me another $10 off. So that's right, I got this really cool shirt for $19. It's a Nike dry fit. What a sweet deal. Have you ever gotten a sweet deal on something? Think about that. You're going to have a discussion post later on in this folder where you do an assignment and tell me about a sweet deal you got. And of course, this is going to relate to the headright system, which was a very sweet deal for people in England, and we'll put that in our notes here in a moment. But the very first essential question for us is right here. Once John Cabbage Cabot claimed land in England, wait a minute. Once John Cabbage Cabot claimed land in the New World for England, there were people in England who were businessmen, business investors who were interested in founding a colony, starting a colony. Now, the reason why Jamestown was called Jamestown would be, at the time, the King of England was King James. So it would be almost like if we went to a colony on the moon and we named our colony Trump Town, after President Trump. So that's why, maybe Trump, maybe it should be Trumpville. Yeah, that sounds better, Trumpville. But they named it Jamestown, this first colony in England, or this first colony in the New World from England, one of the first colonies. They named it after the king. Now, the answer to this, EQ number one, why were the people in England interested in founding Jamestown? 2 reasons: money and land. It was a business venture. It was a business venture. Have you ever thought about creating a business for yourself? What would you do? I have no clue for me. I'm not a good business person. I don't have a good business mind. But these men in England thought that they could make some money by founding a colony in Jamestown, and by doing so, they could help. It would help make them money, and they can gain some land over here in the New World. So that's the answer to EQ number one. Remember that you can pause this at any time so that you can take down these good notes. EQ number two, of course we all know that there was another group of people living over here in the New World, the American Indians, the Native Americans, who, as you'll find as we go through this class, were treated poorly by the Europeans. I mean, how would you like it if someone came into your house and kind of squatted there and kind of took it? I mean, we would not like that. But EQ2 says, what about the relationship between the Jamestown colonists from England and the Indians? Well, first of all, obviously, they were curious of each other. I mean, the Indians hadn't seen a lot of the white Europeans, so they were curious of these people, and vice versa. A lot of the Europeans had heard stories about Native American Indians, but they'd never seen them before, so they were curious of the Indians as well. And at first, the Indians helped out the colonists because they struggled. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But the English colonists also stole some supplies from the Indians, which angered them and made them, of course, attack back. So we kind of go from good to bad there in their relationship with the Indians. And that's where Pocahontas comes in, because she was the mediator between the two, but we'll talk about that in a moment. As Jamestown grew, and it wasn't successful at first, it struggled at first, but as Jamestown grew, the colony began to grow and more people came over. We'll talk about the indentured servants and the headright system here in a minute. But more people came over from England to the Virginia colony, and the Virginia colony started to grow. And as it started to grow, the amount of farms grew, and there are 2 important groups of people here: the indentured servants, if you can see it right there, and enslaved Africans were brought over. And this question asks you to explain the role of these. Well, both of these groups were used as workers on the plantation farms. Indentured servants, however, could work off their debt and go free. Sadly, the enslaved Africans could not. And it took America a long time before we were able to eliminate this horrible practice of slavery. We all have, Halloween is coming up this Saturday night. And my outfit is, I'm going as a skeleton. Now, mainly I'm doing that because there's a lot of good jokes for that, because I can walk up to somebody when they're talking and I can say, oh, that was humorous. And I can point to my arm, because right there is your humerus bone. Okay, it's kind of corny, but I think people will laugh. And then I can go stand up beside somebody, and I could say, that old joke about how, can I go to the party with you because I have no body to go with? Because I'll be a skeleton. Okay, never mind. But, oh, geez. But here's why I was getting onto that. We all have skeletons in our closet. Things we like to keep hidden. Things you did bad in the past that you want to forget about. And America is no different. America has skeletons in our closet. Things that our country isn't proud of. Things that, if we could change, we would go back and try. But one of those skeletons in our closet is the use of enslaved Africans on Virginia's economy, to help make money for Virginia's economy and all the southern colonies especially, and we'll talk more about it. It doesn't make it right, but that's what they did. Now we go to some vocabulary words. Most of you guys have watched the Pocahontas cartoons for Disney, which is a glamorized version of what happened, but John Smith was a real person. He was the leader of the Jamestown colony. This colony that was founded, they didn't put a lot of thought into it. If you were going to colonize the moon, you better have a big, diverse group of people. You need to have some people who can, hang on, there's an announcement.
We will have a leadership meeting now in Ms. Chuka's room.
Okay, that doesn't concern me. But if you were going to the moon, you better have some scientists, you better have some doctors come along, you better have some construction people who can build things. The people founding the Jamestown colony, they didn't have enough foresight really to see that. So they didn't send over carpenters, doctors, medical people. It was almost like people were going to take a nice little camping trip, and they weren't prepared. And the Jamestown colony, number one, they built their colony in a swampy area where mosquitoes live and festered, and a lot of the colonists got sick with disease and things carried around by the mosquitoes. The winter was pretty harsh on them. And they almost didn't make it, but one man stood up, and that's Captain John Smith. He stood up and took control and became the leader of the colony, and basically helped everyone realize if they didn't work, they were going to die, that it was a life or death situation. And the colony managed to somehow survive and struggle and hold on. And I think I read somewhere where there might have been 200 colonists who came over, and after the first year, there were 70 left. That's how dire the situation had gotten for them. But because of their leader, Captain John Smith, they were able to hold on and keep the colony going. Now, later on, a man, I think he came over in the second wave for the colony. He wasn't one of the originals. But John Rolfe comes along. Now, he was the one we give credit for helping save Jamestown because he discovered one of the crops that the Indians were growing over here called tobacco. And he discovered this, and what really happened was then they were able to grow it over here in Virginia. Tobacco did not grow well in the wet climate of Great Britain. So they could grow the tobacco over here in Virginia and ship it across the Atlantic to England, where they could sell it to everybody. And of course, tobacco has got nicotine, it's addictive. So once you got people using it, then you could keep selling it to them. So John Rolfe is credited for helping save the Jamestown colony with the cash crop of tobacco. He ends up marrying the princess, the Indian princess here, Pocahontas. Put a little picture there for you. She married John Rolfe, and mainly, her role in the whole thing was to help keep the good relations between the Indians and the colonists. If you ever get a chance to Google Pocahontas and read about her and do some research, interesting stories about her in Jamestown. As the colony continued to grow and relationships with the Indians in Virginia continued to go south, Nathaniel Bacon was an important colonist because he lived in the colony of Virginia and was a farmer out on the frontier away from Jamestown. But he decided that the Jamestown colony and the king should send him some help. And there were a lot of Indians attacking these farmers out on the frontier and their families, and they wanted Great Britain to send over some help to help fight off these Indians. Nathaniel Bacon also thought that the Jamestown colony was getting rich off of the tobacco they were growing, that he was growing, and that he wasn't getting a fair cut share of the money. So he ended up leading an uprising against the leaders of the Virginia colony. It got put down pretty quickly, but I guess you see for the first time, even back then, in the colony, someone was trying to stand up against what they felt was an injustice to them. Now, we talked about how indentured servants worked on these plantation farms as the Virginia colony grew. What is an indentured servant? It wasn't technically a slave. They worked 4 to 7 years on plantations to pay for their passage to the New World. So you could get your boat ticket over, and then you had to work your boat ticket off. Now, once you did that, I think you were given about 25 acres of land in the New World that was your own, and you might have been given a horse. Can't remember, but then you were left. Then you were on your own. Then, so the indentured servant, that program isn't quite such a sweet deal as the headright system was. We'll talk about it in a minute, but at least if you were poor, down on your luck, you had no way to get to the New World, and you wanted to start a new life, you could enroll in this indentured servant program, and your passage to the New World was paid for, your boat ticket paid for, and then all you had to do was work 4 to 7 years to work off that debt, and then you could go free, and you had land in the New World to kind of get yourself a fresh start. Have you ever wanted to just go move to a new school, a new place, and just have a new fresh start? Some people in England felt that way, and they took advantage of the indentured servant program. Now, they had to work for it, but in the end, if they made it through, then they were able to start a fresh life over here in the New World. We talked about Nathaniel Bacon. The name of his uprising was Bacon's Rebellion. Oh boy, I put some bacon right there. I am so hungry looking at that. But anyway, Bacon's Rebellion was led by Nathaniel Bacon, and it was an uprising of the poor farmers against Virginia colony leaders. They felt like they were getting shortchanged with the money on this tobacco. They also felt like Great Britain wasn't giving them enough help to fight off Indians on the frontier. Now, finally, we get down to this last word I want to talk about, the headright system. It was a sweet deal. Look at that, a sweet deal. And there's a discussion post assignment that we have where you get to tell me about a sweet deal. I told you about my sweet deal right here on my really cool Nike shirt. But the headright system, look at this. This is much better than the indentured servant deal, especially if you had a little bit of money. But anybody who paid for their passage to the New World, anybody who bought their boat ticket over, they also got with that. It was almost like buy one, get one free. But if you paid your passage to the New World, you also got 50 acres of land over here in the Americas when you got here. And for every other ticket you bought, you got 50 acres of more land. So, a man with some money could purchase, him and his wife and a kid ticket, and then he would get 150 acres of land in the New World. So the headright system was really a sweet deal. And some people in England took advantage of this to come to the New World, gain some land, and start a new life. But they didn't realize how tough it would all be. That's for sure. Just like if we were going to the moon for a colony, Trumpville, it wouldn't be as easy to make that colony work and survive as we like to think it would. Well, that's our notes for Lesson 1, Colony of Jamestown. I hope you took good notes. In the folder under Lesson 1 in Unit 2, there's a discussion post you have to fill out, and there's a worksheet you have to do about Jamestown. I will be looking for your submissions on those, and I will be looking at your discussion post on your sweet deal. Maybe it was better even than the headright system. Head right. Get it? Head right system. Until next time, Coach Eads, over and out.